Yes. Undoubtedly, my family on both sides of the Mayflower, hardcore Protestants, you could say Rosicrucians. This country was founded by real Rosicrucians, not the Rosicrucians you see out there today. And so, undoubtedly, if you want to say it, I mean, I would say I come out of a classical Enlightenment family of what you would call real Illuminati, real Enlightenment. And I'll just say it here. Everybody asks me who I am, I'll tell you. There's no secret society. There's no secret messages. There's no secret handshakes. There's freedom. There's Jesus Christ. There's free market. There's family. There's strength. There's honor. There's the will to fight tyrants. That's what there is. I've had many offers myself to, be one of the globalist controllers. I mean, I've had open offers several times. To be brought into the whole thing, and I'm just not going to do it. So, to answer your question, your father knows it's a cult, 32nd degree. Your father thinks he knows the secret that Lucifer is really Jesus. Your father thinks he knows the secret that Lucifer is really Jesus. Your father thinks he knows the secret that Lucifer is really Jesus.
I apologize for the weak audio, but I am on my phone again. Now, as you just heard, Alex Jones says that in this old video of his, he says that the Masonic secret is that Lucifer is really Jesus Christ. But at the same time, what Alex Jones also claims to do is believe in Jesus Christ. So is it true that is what he's saying true when he says that the Masons or the secret societies actually believe that Jesus Christ, or basically Jesus Christ is Satan, according to them, or Lucifer, what we call Satan? And no, I don't believe that that is the secret. What I believe he is doing when he says that the secret of Freemasonry, or the secret of all these secret societies like the Rosicrucians, which he brought up, which are all Marian organizations, what he is actually doing is he is sowing a seed in people's minds. What I have seen from some people recently who I feel are honestly seeking the truth is that they have, many people are falling away, not like, I don't mean falling away from like salvation, because I'm not the one who decides if they're saved or not. But what I mean is they're leaving the faith, and what I mean by the faith is what is basically outlined in the Bible. And I guess, maybe some people may feel like I put too much importance on the Bible, but I believe that if you are going to identify as a Christian, then you should believe what's written in the Bible. Now, the problems that I've seen now lately are, especially, I'll name one person, since I've shared a video from them in the past, and I ended up, at the time, I ended up getting a lot of backlash for it, and I didn't really see the problem based on what I saw on the channel at, up until that point. I didn't think they were really that bad. But what I've seen from them lately is that they have fallen for many deceptions, such as one, the serpent seed being one, and number two, that is not simply by grace, faith and grace alone, in Jesus Christ alone. Now we have to perform. We have to live a certain way. The Hebrew roots, that's what I'm thinking about. They've fallen for Hebrew roots now. And in this person's name is Simona Rich. And it was really heartbreaking to see what happens when some people get so I'm sorry to make you look at this screen. I guess all right, I need to talk about this in a second. What happens is when people study so much that they come across deceptions and they don't know how to, well, they don't discern the deceptions from the real thing. So I was very disappointed and sad to see this happen to Simona Rich, and I am also seeing it to happen to some other people who I have been talking to for a little while. They look at what they, but you know, with them, it's not them looking at the Bible and they're saying, or looking at the Targum or looking at any of these other extra biblical books. They've looked at, you know, issues with what they believe are translation issues, or they've looked at, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, just some of the things, the deceptions out there, like the zeitgeist and things like that. And so they begin to wonder, they begin to doubt, and they begin to say, well, is this whole Jesus Christ thing really a deception? Is the New Testament a deception? Are we being deceived? Is the Holy Bible actually a Masonic book? Now, I don't want this to shake anybody's faith, but it's pretty much a fact that there were people like Sir Francis Bacon, and who was a member of the secret society. I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a Rosicrucian. And there is reason to believe that King James was also a Freemason. Now, looking at and another reason why is pretty much undeniable is when you look at the old 1611 King James Version Bible, which I have a copy of. I have the 400th anniversary edition. One of the things that struck me as soon as I opened up the book was one of the illustrations. The illustration was clearly Masonic. You had the sun and the moon at the top of the page, and then you had these other images throughout the illustration that showed that these people were present. However, as I have stated, that I believe the King James Version is still the best translation that we have. I believe this book, and I'm sure that from what I've seen, that the translation is about as close you can get to the original intent of the Hebrew as you can get. Now, having said that, I must confess there is one place in the Bible where I do look at it and say, I don't know why they chose that word, and that word is that's in Zechariah 5, where we see the angel tell Zechariah that regarding the woman in the basket, this is their resemblance instead of I, because there's one place in the Bible, and at least in the Old Testament, where resemblance appears, and that is it, when the most obvious translation should have been probably I. But other than that, I believe that book. I believe the Bible. But what some people do is they look and they see, oh man, King James might have been a Freemason, probably was. Some other Freemasons were involved, maybe Luther, the so-called, the one who started the Protestant Reformation. He has some Masonic artwork out there, and everywhere you look, there is some Freemasonic roots. But that's pretty much the way the world is everywhere you look. no matter what you look at in this world, if you look deep enough, you're gonna find. If you look deep enough, you're gonna find Freemasons. That's just the way it is in this world. They're everywhere. If not the Freemasons, just some other member of one of those esoteric societies. And esoteric just means secret or hidden. So there's nothing really you can do to get away from that. So if for anyone who is expecting to ever find a pure, like a translation of the Bible where some nefarious or some unsavory character wasn't involved in it, you're not going to find it. Like Jesus Christ, you remember he said he had 12 disciples and he said one of you is a devil. So, even among his own disciples, he said, look, one of you is a devil. So that doesn't mean though that you should completely abandon the Bible. And so what Alex Jones does is sow another seed of doubt in people's minds by saying that the Masonic secret is that Jesus Christ or Lucifer is Jesus Christ. And so compile that with all the other things that people are looking at, and now they're starting to think, maybe I'm being deceived. Jesus Christ is not really what the Bible says he is. He's actually a deception. And that's not true at all. That's not true, and sadly some people are falling for that. But I know that they are honest truth seekers, and then I pray that God will deliver them from this deception. And another thing that I wanted to bring up is I will add a small clip from Derek Prince, a sermon by Derek Prince that I was listening to. And I have to admit, some things Derek Prince says, I'm kind of like, I don't quite believe that. But for the most part, he is very solid. And so I'll play a little bit from that in a second. Moving on to another thing that I wanted to touch on is what exactly is my purpose and my job description, maybe? I don't know. I can't really claim to know for sure myself, because honestly, it's not as much as I have tried to tell myself what I should be doing and things like that in the past. Like sometimes I've decided, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to go back to watching TV and watching YouTube and stuff like that. And then things will just spiral down from there. And so I've decided that it's really not my place to decide what I should be doing, as I have tried to in the past. And so when I come across sometimes comments from people also telling me what I should be doing, I have to also respond to them kind of the same way. Well, as much as, look, you could be right. Maybe what I'm doing is not what I should be doing. But the fact of the matter is, it's not really your place to say or my place to say what I should be doing. Because you're not God. I don't work for you. I'm not God. I don't work for myself. So however I ended up being here on YouTube, putting out these videos that I'm putting out now, if you ask me, I'm not doing it out of myself, because I've tried to quit already. I took like a 3-month hiatus like a few months ago, and that was a point where I said I was done. But I ended up coming back anyway. And if you ask me, I don't think I came back under my own. I don't think I just decided to get up and say, okay, I'm just going to go back to making YouTube videos. Things happen, and then you say, well, I feel pressed to say something. I feel pressed to expose this. And the video that I came back from after that little hiatus that I was on, which was supposed to be a retirement from YouTube, was my video exposing Shekinah. Not a lot of people have seen that video. I think it's very, let me just scroll up a little bit. I think my Shekinah video is one of the most, yeah, it's important. It's an important video, but it's also something that, because of the length of it, I have a hard time getting people to watch. But I believe that it was something that God, I'm not trying to say that God told me to do anything or to say anything, but I don't really know how else to describe it. So I felt pressed to put that information on Shekinah out there, and it's out there. It's on YouTube. I just need people to watch it. So as for what I'm supposed to be doing or what I should be doing, however things have unfolded, that is how they were supposed to unfold. So let's, I guess I've said enough about that. So that was something yesterday that I thought to make mention of. Am I at the end of this or what? What's going on with this thing? Yeah, there was something that I wanted to make mention of that happened in Chile, and that is a ceremony where the Pope went down there, and he ended up, I wasn't really sure what to say about it or if I should say anything. I was just kind of just like, I sound like a broken record, so I started not to say anything. But I guess this kind of goes along with the message that I was just speaking about, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I guess I'm glad for that comment that I received, because it gave me the motivation to actually talk about this today when I was planning to ignore it. So down there in Chile, on RomeReports.com or on the YouTube channel, they had the title of this video, and the title of this article or whatever was the Pope. I can't remember exactly what it is. The Pope crowns the patron of Chile, something like that. The patron, and I guess the patron is a reference to the patron deity, and of course, that patron deity is what I say is the image of the beast. The image of the beast, as I have tried to explain in that video that I did on the image of the beast, but I was stumbling and just making a mess, and people really couldn't understand what I was trying to say. The image of the beast is actually an image that resembles the dragon, but it belongs to the beast. That's why it is called the image of the beast. It is not an image that looks like the beast. It is an image that belongs to the beast. So in that image that belongs to the beast is the image of the mother goddess, the goddess and the child, or just the goddess. So we have here the so-called Queen of Heaven, and if you refer to Jeremiah verse 7:18, we know that Jeremiah says, or the scripture says in Jeremiah, that the service of the Queen of Heaven and pouring out these drink offerings to other gods is actually provoking God to anger. So that this is idolatry, and it provokes God to anger. So this deity is Satan. Add to that, the star that is associated with the Queen of Heaven is Venus, or Heliel, and then you realize, okay, so the Queen of Heaven is actually Lucifer. And then you recognize her other titles, the Mother of the Gods. False gods in the Bible are called abominations. You recognize that she was worshipped at infertility cults. She was called the Mother of Harlots. And you realize some of these devotees were males who were either transsexuals or just cross-dressers, and God calls them abominations. So once again, she is the mother also of abominations. And not just that, but with the actual definition of a sodomite is a male devotee of the goddess who makes himself into a female to and prostitutes himself to in worship of the goddess. That is the definition of a sodomite. So he's down there in Chile crowning, putting these gold crowns on the image of the beast. So prophecy is being fulfilled in our eyes in this day and age right now, and it has been for a long time. But it's been overlooked. People haven't seen it, and I just find myself here having to speak on it, even though I may not be the most qualified person. And I say I'm not qualified because I know God doesn't choose people who are excellent of speech or whatever, but I just feel like I feel so hard trying to get the message across sometimes because of my little speech problems. But so yeah, this image is also, I believe this image is also it's mentioned in Daniel, I believe it's Daniel 7:32 or Daniel 7:38. I don't know where. I can't remember. I can't look at it right now. I think it's the image about the strange God and the God of forces. Now the word forces, some people say, well, they think it means forces as in the universal mind, or the guy that is mentioned or referred to as the Force in Star Wars. But what it really actually means is a God of fortifications, a God of strongholds. And a stronghold is a city or a fortified place, a place with fortified walls. It's referring to a city. So this is a God of forces or a God of cities. And Isaiah 47, also in Isaiah 47, this Babylon, virgin daughter of Babylon, is referred to as the Lady of Kingdoms. And the Virgin Mary is called the Lady of Nations, Lady of all nations. Another word for kingdoms is nations. So we have this God of cities, or the God of strongholds, being referred to once again in Revelation as the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. And so am I actually in the room, or am I actually, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Only God knows. And I'll find out one day. I hope I don't find out too late. But another thing that I wanted to mention about this ceremony that happened yesterday is what we see here on the right side of the picture. We have the what's supposed to be Jesus Christ, and he is hanging there on the cross still. For one, this is a graven image, and people do bow down to these graven images, which they're commanded not to. But of course, that commandment is taken out of the Catholic Bible. And also the Catholic Bible makes Mary out to be the seed that will crush the head of the serpent. But anyway, so you have this image of Jesus Christ, who was supposed to be Jesus Christ, who was really Tammuz, the sun god, slain, dead on the cross. And he is either a child or he is on the cross dying. He is either the sun rising or he is the sun setting. And this is the religion of the goddess. There was a book that I had read from called When God Was a Woman, and it plainly says that when you see the dying and resurrecting sun god, you are able to recognize the existence or the presence of the religion of the goddess. Because the sun may rise and set, but it does not do so without Mother Earth or Mother Nature, who births it. Without So in their eyes, the light or the sun is bared, or the light bearer becomes the earth. The light bringer or the light bearer is the earth, which gives birth to the light, gives birth to the sun. And without her, the sun cannot be resurrected again. So this actually makes the goddess higher than the sun god. So yes, there is sun god worship in the Roman Catholic Church, but without the Mother Earth or the Mother Church. And they have said that Mary's body is the church itself, the actual building of the church. That's why it's shaped or is structured like a woman's anatomy. They have said that there's no salvation outside of her. Just like the sun god or Tammuz, that child there, who was always a child, he's either being born or he's dying. He cannot be reborn, born again, without his mother. So that's why she is the mother of God, and she is actually higher than God. And so I know I end up sounding like a broken record, but I guess this is going to be for first-time viewers as well. This is something that needs to be understood by more people. And I've asked this question in the past. I'm going to wrap this up, but I've asked this question in the past. You expect to see Lucifer, the adversary of God, being worshipped openly in the open, wide out in the open, not just in the future, but in the past. Look at the past and say, okay, where was Lucifer worshipped at? Out in the open. It's always been right there in the form either of this false Virgin Mary, the one who they created called the Queen of Heaven, either in that form or in the form of Kibali before that in Turkey and Pergamon, or before that as Isis, before that as Ishtar in Babylon, or Inanna in Babylon, both, Ishtar and Inanna, the same thing. Or Ashtoreth or Asherah, who was called the wife of Yahweh, which is false, but that's what they called her. And now her modern day, her, I guess, contemporary is Shekinah, who they say is the wife of God. And if it's not Shekinah, then it's Sophia, the Gnostic version of this Queen of Heaven, who is actually supposed to be the one who gave birth to God, or the demiurge, as they call him. But they make him out to be Satan. They say he's corrupt, he's evil, and he is trying to control us. And Sophia is the one, or Mother Nature, who is in opposition to him. So the honest Gnostics will clearly or plainly tell you that Sophia is Lucifer, but the dishonest ones will not. But anyway, I've said enough. I'm going to play that clip from Derek Prince. The audio is really loud, so you may want to turn your speakers down for this. Okay, so just fair warning. All right, so thank you for listening, and may the Most High bless you in the name of His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, or as some prefer to say, Yeshua HaMashiach.
My criticism of such presentations is that they're only halfway honest. They're honest about their doubts and what they don't believe, but they're not honest about the results of denying these things. If you deny the virgin birth, if you deny the record of creation, if you deny the reality of hell's judgment, what does it make Jesus? Because there's no doubt whatever that Jesus believed and taught all those things. The only logical conclusion you can come to in relation to Jesus is this: either he was deceived or he was a deceiver. And if we're going to be intellectually honest, let's go all the way with it. Let's come out with the full implications of our doubts. Let's be honest all the way. But to me, this half-baked intellectual honesty that's honest about doubts but not honest about the conclusions from those doubts is actually just exactly what's described here. It's privy, it's sneaky, it's underhand, it's deceptive. However, it says in the second verse that many shall follow their pernicious ways. They're going to deceive many people. And as a result of this, reproach will be brought upon the actual way of truth. Christianity will be misrepresented in the eyes of the world through these false teachers. We've got to expect all this to happen, and it is happening. However, the very center of these heresies is found in that phrase, denying the Lord that bought them. And the essence of every damnable heresy is that it denies the Lord Jesus Christ and his redemptive work on the cross. And any teaching that touches or undermines or denies any of these aspects of Scripture's truth is a damnable heresy. And I will tell you what I believe. I believe that Jesus is divine. He is God. I believe that he was born of a virgin. I believe he led a sinless life. I believe he died an atoning death as the substitute for the sins of the human race. I believe that he rose physically from the dead the third day. I believe that he ascended physically into heaven. And I believe that he's coming again in like manner as he was seen to go. And I would say myself that any teaching that touches or undermines or denies any of those truths is a damnable heresy. And personally, people may consider my views old-fashioned, but as it stands now, I don't feel a little bit less intelligent than people that don't believe the way I do. I may be wrong, but I don't feel I have to apologize intellectually for my beliefs. I think they're logical, clear, and intelligent. And down through the course of ages, a lot of intelligent men have believed the way that I believe, and done a lot of good in the world by their believing too. Let me point out one other typical form of problem that is liable to come in this connection. If you turn to the 20th chapter of Acts for a moment, and I mentioned this briefly when I was speaking at the Full Gospel Businessmen's Convention, the closing evening. Acts, the 20th chapter. The last words of the Apostle Paul to the elders of the church at Ephesus, in Acts 20, verses 28 through 32. Take heed therefore unto yourselves, and to all the flock over the which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers, to feed the church of God, which he hath purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them. Therefore watch, and remember that by the space of 3 years I cease not to warn every one of night and day with tears. And now, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up, and to give you an inheritance among all them which are sanctified. Notice the Apostle Paul was speaking to the elders of the church at Ephesus, men whom he knew, whom he loved, and whom he had probably appointed to that position. And yet he's got some very serious things to tell them as he takes his farewell. He says in verse 29, I know that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Now the wolf is a type of the false prophet. For Jesus said in Matthew 7, at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing, who are false prophets. You see, the sheep is the picture of the Christian disciple. The wolf is the natural enemy of the sheep. In order to get amongst the flock of sheep undetected, the wolf is attired in a sheepskin. And as I pointed out, the person who looks merely with his eyes or judges merely by his ears is liable to be deceived by the wolf under the sheepskin. But there's one creature there on the scene which is not deceived, and that's the sheepdog, because it doesn't look with its eyes, it doesn't judge by its eyes, and it doesn't judge by its ears. It's got another scent, the scent of smell, which tells it very clearly that that thing with the sheepskin on top is a wolf, and its job is to bark. And that is the job of the Christian ministry when the wolf comes in sheep's clothing. In Isaiah 56, God says of the shepherds of Israel in his day, they are all dumb dogs that cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. And the man who's placed in a position of responsibility for the flock of the Lord, if he allows the wolf to come in sheep's clothing and does not bark, is nothing better than a dumb dog that cannot bark, lying down, sleeping, loving to slumber. And there are a lot of dumb dogs in some churches today. Now the wolf comes from without, very deceptive. They use honey language. They talk ever so sweetly about love, till it drips like syrup from their lips, and they're wolves. When a person can talk about nothing but love, I've come to that place in my experience where I say, what's wrong with their doctrine or what's wrong with their life? There must be something wrong. You say, what's wrong with love? Love is wonderful, but friends, it's much better to act it than preach about it. The people that preach about it and nothing else are dangerous. God is a God of love, but he's a God of judgment too. And any kind of love that obliterates the truth of God's judgment is a satanic deception. Then Paul goes on to warn them of another problem, which is even more serious. In the 30th verse, also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them. Also out of the very group of elders whom Paul had appointed, he said, some of you will arise and present twisted teachings. With what object? To draw away disciples after themselves. Now here is a deadly kind of motivation. When teachers and preachers and prophets and prophetesses want to get people following themselves, this is satanic. Every true minister and servant of Jesus Christ under the Word has one supreme object: to get people absorbed in the Lord, not in the preacher or the prophet or the teacher.